Hey UTV Boondockers, today we're going to add on some sweet accessories. This is the Razorback Technologies 3.2 gauge. It's a belt temp gauge. I want to add that to mine just for my own sanity to keep an eye on the belt temps. Really nice packaging. Everything's done up real well. I'm going to go ahead and do a quick step-by-step as we go through this. We're going to put her on the Commander here. I couldn't find any videos that anybody had done one of these on the Commander Gen 2 yet, so this could be the first. We'll see how it goes. I want to kind of go over everything that's in the package. You do have on and off, and this also helps you toggle through your menus on this. This is the 3.2. We did it in the black ring, thought it would look better with the interior. But the 3.2, you actually have a dimmable gauge, and then you also have a menu that you can select through all of our wires. I did order the X3 package, so it's I believe it's 15 feet long, just to make sure that we had enough length, being that couldn't find anywhere that it would fit the Commander Max. All right, to gain a little more access, we pulled the rear tire off. Just makes it a little more sanitary, much more easier to get to. Got the cover off. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to measure about here in the center of this. You want that IR to be touching, or to read off of the belt right about in here. So we're gonna have to measure back and try to figure out exact distance to drop that half-inch hole. Hopefully we can try to get a 90-degree drill in here without having to pull this exhaust off. You're good. Okay, so your belt is exactly 1.5 inches wide. So to try to find the center of that, we're coming back to 3/4 of an inch to find the dead center of the belt. And then I'm going to run up in here, try to keep this as straight as, actually, I'm sorry, I'm not in the middle. That's closer to middle. 3/4. So almost exactly 2 inches in. And that should give you, so I'm going to come back in, I'm going to measure 2 inches in here, drop my half-inch hole, and that should put the sensor dead center of that. Okay, so we decided not to try to have to mess with removing that exhaust. So we're going to drill it from the inside. So just real quickly, everyone's got one of these tools. Pop the belt off, and we're going to just drill it from the bottom. Thankfully, we have good friends that have these sweet little adapters for your drill. I would highly suggest having that. And we're going to drill a 1/2 inch hole using a step bit to get that sensor in. Okay, we have the belt back on. The sensor is in. And as you will notice, it's pointing right down in the middle of the belt. Per the factory recommendation, that you have just enough to depth. You don't want a ton of depth of that sensor sticking out, especially if this thing does break or come apart. We're ready to start wiring. Hey guys, I want to show you this as well. What I did is I put a spark plug high temp loom over top of this plug, just in case in the wire, being that cord is so close to that catalytic converter right there. It's insane. So I just wanted to protect it. Wouldn't be a bad idea for yourself as well. Wire routing. So we ended up pulling the seats. It's just much easier. And this center inspection cover, what we're going to be able to do is run the wire along here, sensor wire, and run it along this loom and be able to run it into the main engine loom. A little bit of a pain to pull the seats out. 6 bolts, it's not that big of a deal. Pull that cover off, but much easier to access this center tunnel. Hey, while we're routing this wire, I kind of want to show this. What I did is I drilled a hole in the backside of this panel on that rib, and then grabbed that to hold our cable so it's not flopping around, getting around up by the heat. I mean, that exhaust is right there. And then we're just running this back through the wire loom, and then we're gonna do the long process of running it up to the front of the cab. Okay, so you can see the wire. We've zip tied it all the way up through the tunnel. It's pretty simple. You just remove this bolt, these 2 bolts here, pop that cover up, and you can slide your wire right through there. I've got it coming up, sticking out of the loom right here, and we're getting ready to figure out how we're gonna mount this beast. All right, I've got it back at my place here and doing all the wiring and the bracket work. So you're gonna have a ton of extra wiring, fair warning, but I didn't want to cut that off because that could be for the future for the fan. So I got everything tied up to the roof here as best I could, and I got it bolted into my fuse panel, so everything is ready to go. Okay, I had to make up my own bracket work here, as you can see. There we go. If you have a X3, they will mount it up here, which is kind of sweet, kind of up in this area here. I don't, so I just ended up making my own bracket real quick. I like where it's at, nice, easy to see. So one of the real nice options with the supplied switch is that you can change your brightness. Apparently on the 3.1 that tended to be a problem. This is the 3.2. Totally worth it. Nice, especially at night, to be able to turn that down. I'm going to run through the functions just real quick with you. Alright, if you go to Razorback, there's a much better video, but I'm just going to go through this super quick with you. You've got 3 different options, or I'm sorry, 3 different, your main and your 2 smalls. This is your fan, if you have a fan for the blower motor inside the tubing. I did not order that yet, hoping I don't need to do that, but it's nice to have an average. And then this is your immediate. This is your green light, obviously up to 200 degrees, and then it'll start changing colors the hotter it gets, all the way up to a red flashing to really warn you. Now if you hold this down, if I can zoom in, so there's a whole bunch of, you can change all your fan temps, your fan speeds, when you want your yellow to come on, and if you don't want to wait till it's 200, you might want to do it a little earlier to give yourself an earlier notice. There's some blink temps. These are all factory settings. And then you can change what you want to have in that view. And then you can actually control the brightness as well. But there's no sense of that because you can just toggle through that. If you ever get too crazy and you need to reset it, you can just reset the whole thing. For those over in Europe, you can also do Celsius, or in Canada if you're interested in that. Pretty sweet little rig, liking it so far. I'm going to go out and run it up and down the road and make sure I've got that probe pointed exactly where I need it. Alright, I took it and ripped it up and down the road quite a few times, back and forth. It's setting here probably heat soaking right now, 153, average about 103. When it was running, it's like 139 to 145 up and down the road. It's probably heat soaked right now, so it's setting. Seems to work great. I'm going to keep an eye on it. This will definitely be a new piece of information for me, just to try to keep those temps down and hopefully not grenading belts on the side of the trail. Hey, I also wanted to make sure that you understand that I did order the X3 version. The X3 version is about 15 feet long, and that one definitely was long enough because it reached perfectly. You will have some extra wiring from the head unit out to your power source and to your switch. That's not a big deal. You can just trim that back. But from the back of the machine all the way up to your gauge, you definitely need all of that 15 feet for a max. If you're doing a Commander 2-seater, obviously you can probably get away with something a little shorter. For the price, it's not much money. Just coil it up, and that way you're safe no matter where you put your gauge. All right, thanks a lot. Take care. Hey, don't forget to like and subscribe. That way we can continue to just keep bringing you more videos. We have some good ride videos coming up, and definitely some more mods on this piece coming up. I can't leave anything alone, so stay tuned.